Welcome back to the vinyl wrap on the WideFox. So at this point we have everything on the front half of the car done. The front doors, the front fenders, the hood, and the cowl. Today we're going to tackle the trunk and the taillight panel to get that caught up before we jump to the quarters. Now today it's very windy here at the farm and garage, so I am not going to roll up the door so that you don't have to listen to me in a wind tunnel. I'm going to work in this kind of enclosed space. Thankfully, everything's on top, and it's going to be should be pretty easy to do. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. The measurement here is going to be right here at this top corner. Give myself, of course, 2 inches from this, going all the way back down, wrap under the trunk, and then I'll wrap around the sides to be able to make it fit. Now, since we're going from the vertical to the horizontal, one thing to keep in mind is that this car, in this respect to the vinyl wrap, is a cylindrical shape. So it should be like this, like a half circle almost. So where the roll of the vinyl goes fore aft on the sides, it also needs to do that on top of the car. So the width of the vinyl here goes fore aft, the width on this goes the width of the car. That way, if you stand back to the side, you will see green and you will see green. That way it kind of looks like it's going out, right? A sea of green. That way if you look from the front, it's a sea of purple. If you flip it, well, you're going to have the trunk looking different from the quarter, which is going to look different from everything else. So don't do that. Make sure it all matches. It's a cylinder. It's a half circle. Okay, so using the tape measure, what I measure is from the top corner up here, wrapping around the trunk. That is 25 inches. So my rule of 2 on each edge means it goes to 29, right? Add 2, add 2. The width of the trunk is 55 inches. Add 2 on each side of there, which puts it to 59. The roll is 60, meaning all I need to do is really balance the roll on the width. 60 is going to work perfectly. That's it. Let's get the trunk done. Today's gonna be a bad day, I can already tell. So I got half the trunk done, as you saw. And I'll tell you what, every time I pulled up that vinyl to stretch it to get some wrinkles out, I pulled paint, which means this trunk wasn't ready. I think I just got overzealous, decided that it was ready, was good enough, and really it wasn't. So I had a lot of pock marks in the paint. Every time I pulled up that wrap, it basically pulled the paint with it, and then it wasn't really adhering well. So I started getting a lot of little pockets where it wasn't adhering. It just started going bad in a hurry. So halfway through, I decided, you know what? I'm not forcing this wrap. So as you can see, I'm going to sand this down. Now I've got 800 here, so I'm going to resand this finish, get it back to silky smooth, and we'll do it again. So sometimes you just got to stop and reassess what you're doing because things aren't working. That's today. This wasn't going to work. This was going to turn out bad. And if I finished the whole thing, I tell you what, I wasn't going to salvage half the material and save it. So that's how it is. Stay tuned. I'm going to sand this down and we'll get back to wrapping. All right, so we're back with round 2 on the trunk. So it is sanded again. Now, one thing I want to show you guys is look at the reflection in the surface. You can see the windows on the doors for the garage doors. If I do them that way, and that tells me right there that that surface is nicely polished down to about 1500. Just took a little extra time. Just made a mistake. Went too fast on myself. So there you go. Now I will get started on round 2 with the vinyl. It's been a couple days since I cleaned the trunk, sanded it, and showed you how glossy it was. And I just needed a little bit of break there. Had plenty of other stuff to do on the farm, so tonight I'm getting back at it. Same thing. So the width of 29 inches off the roll fits perfectly. It's centered, and I've got 2 magnets holding it there. Now I did do something on the last one. I actually made 2 mistakes. One was caused from the other, and I'm not going to do it again. So first mistake was the starting point. I always told you guys to start somewhere in the center and work your way out. Where did I start on the last piece? I started on the edge. And when I got to the center, I really ran myself into trouble. So up here at the window, I made some relief cuts trying to get some of the tension off that stuff, and that went seriously bad. All it did was it tore the ripped the wrap. Whew, that's a good one. Ripped the wrap. Anyway, it ripped the wrap up here when I was stretching it, trying to get it to fix. So starting on the edge over here, and by the center, I got over there and I ripped the wrap. And at that point, I knew I had made a big mistake, so it was time to abandon, fix the paint, the surface, and start with a new piece. So that's what I did. Now, don't worry, that piece is not going to go to waste. I have an idea for it, and I'll show you next. So let's get this done. I'm going to flip this over, take the backing off, and start from the center and work my way out. Like I've always said, do it from the middle, the pebble in the pond. Okay, so there's the first half. Now, tell you what, starting in the center, like I told you guys, makes a difference. Do you see how easy that went on? Only had one spot where it wrinkled up, and it was up kind of up here corner. I could just pick it up, relay it down, stretch it, make it tight, and it went on easily. So now, flip the magnets to the down side, flip the other side over, take the backing off. I will finish this top surface and then kind of wrap around the edges, finish the trunk, the lock itself, get that done, and then I can immediately flip it up, go right to the edges. I'm going to do something a little different. Initially, I had planned to do one complete piece, just running the width of the car. Now, with messing up the driver's fender that required a complete scrap, and then half the trunk requiring a complete scrap of material, I'm starting to get these extra little pieces like this. This is one of the windows that came off. Now granted, the material's still good, but you know, doing 4-wheel wells plus one mistake makes 5 of those I'll have 2 windows, so I'm going to have 7 pieces, and I've got a bunch of extra little stuff. So if you notice, if I put on the rear bumper and then one of the taillights, what you see is that most of the rear panel is actually covered. The thing I really need to worry about is right here in the center where the license plate goes. So what I'm going to do is just wrap in the center here, basically from behind this to behind this with one big piece. Just going to take it out of this section right here from the window, and that way that's going to be about the only piece that is seen. Now I can always piece together anything else if I want to, but it's really not required. And I can also run a top piece here. Now it goes along the seal. It's kind of a decision if you want to do a complete full piece. Otherwise, it's really not going to be seen, and you can always just leave it at the jam so that when you pop the trunk, if someone ever said, hey, your car's really not that color, you could say, nope, this is what it used to be. It used to be a gray or black or blue, whatever it is, and this is what the wrap is. So with that little secret, I'm going to go ahead and get this wrapped, and I will be done for the trunk panel. I can move on to the rear flares. Okay, so here's the taillight panel. Now, obviously, one thing I'm going to have to work on my skill set is going around raised objects like this. Thankfully, most of this, I mean, it's all covered. So when somebody's behind it and look at the license plate, you won't see much, but you can see there's a small wrinkle here. There's a couple small wrinkles. And it's not terrible, but it's kind of like, it's something I'm just going to have to work on. I'm going to have to work on getting better at doing raised areas and that. And just going to take practice. So with that, that is the trunk and the taillight panel. Now, when the lights go in, the bumper goes on. You won't see any of this other than it's going to be green right there. So thankfully for that, it'll hide some of my mistakes, but still learning and going to get better. So that's it from this time from Basin Motorsports. If you guys have any comments or questions about anything I've done, go ahead and leave them down below. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time here at Basin Motorsports.